Welcome to Civil Services Achievers Point. We are discussing the Assam Tribune of 17 September 2020. At Civil Services Achievers Point, we have various classroom courses and online courses. You can join these courses. For further details, you can call at the number given below. You can also follow us on the social media platforms. So this Assam Tribune analysis is based on the new pattern of APSC for both prelims and mains examination. However, it is also useful for UPSC and other state level government examinations. So these are the answers to the MCQs of 16 September 2020. You can pause the video here and check your answers with the given answer keys and match them. These are the MCQs of today's newspaper. You can pause the video here and attempt the answers to these MCQs. These are the important newspaper articles we are discussing today, and the important editorials we are discussing are these. So students, let us begin with the important newspaper articles from the Assam Tribune. The first article, Kapila Vatsyayan passes away. So scholar and author of the arts Kapila Vatsyayan died at her Delhi home on Wednesday, and she was awarded the Padma Vibhushan in 2011. She was the founding director of the Indira Gandhi National Center for Arts. She was also a nominated member of the Rajya Sabha. This renowned scholar of art, history, architecture, and Indian classical dance was born in New Delhi in 1928, and she did her master's in English literature from Delhi University and in education from the University of Michigan in the USA. So she was a renowned scholar and she was a Padma Vibhushan awardee. So these points are very important because APSC will ask on important personalities a MCQ based question. So students, please make a note of it. Some of the notable works of her include The Square and the Circle of Indian Arts, Bharata, the Natya Shastra, Dance in Indian Painting, Classical Indian Dance in Literature and Arts, Transmissions and Transformations, Learning through the Arts in Asia. So students should make a note of the important works because APSC might ask about the important works of the author. Vatsyayan also collaborated with our the versatile scholar from Assam, Dr. Maheshwar Neog, who specialized in the cultural history of the Northeast for the Gita Govinda project in the Assam School of Painting. So this point maybe APSC will definitely check in an MCQ in one of the points in the MCQs. So students, please make a note of this point. The legendary dance scholar who was also a great friend and well-wisher of Assam, whose support towards propagating and carrying forward the campaign for national recognition to Satriya dance, music, art and culture will always be fondly remembered. Now coming to the next newspaper article, Parliament clears bill for national importance tag. Now this is regarding the Gujarat Ayurveda Institutes. So this topic we will study under the General Studies 2 paper, topic Polity and Governance. So the background is that Parliament has passed a bill to accord the status of an institution of national importance to a Jamnagar based cluster of Ayurveda institutes. The bill is named the Institute of Teaching and Research in Ayurveda Bill 2020. Lok Sabha has already approved the bill in the last Sabha, in which three Jamnagar Gujarat-based institutes, namely the Institute of Postgraduate Teaching and Research in Ayurveda, Gulab Kunverba Ayurveda Mahavidyalaya, and Institute of Ayurveda Pharmaceutical Sciences. The minister, however, said that there is a national Ayush mission to support other such institutions, and government is ready to support them to get international stature when time comes. Now coming to the most important topic, newspaper article is that Lakhimpur farmers worried over crop failure due to pest attack. Now this is an important topic with respect to the general studies on Assam paper, economic development, and with respect to subtopic agriculture. So the paddy fields across Lakhimpur district have been under attack by different types of pests and worms, making thousands of farmers worried over a possible crop failure in the coming harvest season. So as per the Lakhimpur district agriculture department, 3,155 hectares of cropland in 198 villages have been infected by pest attack. Though the district had experienced a severe pest attack in the summer of 2016, it was only of one kind, that is attacked by the armyworm and the elephant beetle. Students, please make a note of these pests which have been attacking Assam or the agriculture field of Assam from time to time. The first one is armyworm, and there is also a scientific name given. You should also know the scientific name because UPSC has a tendency to ask, and similarly APSC might also ask by giving the scientific name. So you should know the common name and the scientific name also from exam perspective. So apart from the earlier pests attacking, this time pests like white-backed plant hopper, brown plant hopper, green leaf hopper, spinny beetle or rice hispa have been destroying paddy fields in Lakhimpur district. The plants turned yellow like hay before the paddy could bloom, leaving farmers lose crops in several hectares. So it has caused a farmer distress in Assam. Now coming to the next important newspaper article, amendments aimed at improving governance in cooperative banks. The finance minister has said. Now this is for the under the banking regulation law, and this topic we are studying under the general studies 3 paper, topic economic development. So the background is that the finance minister said amendments to the banking regulation law seeking to extend the supervision of RBI to cooperative banks are aimed at improving their governance and protecting depositors' money. So the finance minister has reiterated that the amendments to the banking regulation law seeking to extend the supervision of RBI to cooperative banks are aimed at improving the governance and protecting depositors' money. The bill named the Banking Regulation Amendment Bill 2020. So by this, the government was compelled to come out with an ordinance during the lockdown period as the condition of the cooperative bank was very grave. So that the fact has been given, a data has been given, the gross NPAs or the gross non-performing assets of cooperative banks increased from 7.27% in March 2019 to over 10% by March 2020. Over 100 urban cooperative banks were unable to meet the minimum regulatory capital requirement, and 47 had negative net worth at the end of March 2019. The Union Cabinet had approved an ordinance to bring cooperative banks under the supervision of the Reserve Bank of India. It also extended the provisions applicable on commercial banks to the cooperative banks. So the Union Cabinet had approved an ordinance to bring cooperative banks under the ambit of the supervision of the Reserve Bank of India. it also extended the provisions applicable on commercial banks to cooperative banks also. So, coming to the next important newspaper article, government is working on single window clearance system as per the Minister of Commerce and Industry. So this topic we are studying under the General Studies 3 paper, Economic Development topic. So the background is that the government is working on setting up a single window system for clearances and approvals of industry. The Commerce and Industry Minister Piyush Goyal said, despite the presence of several IT platforms for investing in India, such as in departments of the central government and state single window clearances, investors, so despite the presence of several IT platforms for investing in India, both at the central and state level, investors have to visit multiple platforms to gather information and obtain clearances from different stakeholders. So in order to address this, the creation of a centralized investment clearance cell which would provide end-to-end facilitation support, including pre-investment advisory, information related to banks, and facilitating clearances at central and state level is proposed. So these reforms are proposed so as to improve the ease of doing business in India. Now coming to our next point, the investment clearance cell will be a national portal. So it will be a national portal that integrates the existing clearance systems of various ministries or departments of the government and of states without disrupting the existing IT portals of ministries, and will have a single unified application form. So without disrupting the existing portals of ministries, the national portal will integrate the existing clearance systems of various ministries or departments and will have a single unified application form. So coming to the next important newspaper article, government prepares draft rules to protect electricity consumers' rights. So this topic we can study under the General Studies 2 paper, Governance. This can also be studied under General Studies paper 3, topic Economic Development, because infrastructure is a part of the economic development syllabus. So the Power Ministry has prepared draft rules providing for rights of electricity consumers for the first time. The rules, namely the Electricity Rights of Consumers Rules 2020, invites suggestions and comments by September 30. The objective of these new rules or new draft is to provide consumers better services and facilities. Also adding that electricity consumers are the most important stakeholders in the power sector, and the sector exists because of them. So as electricity is provided to the citizens, now it is important to focus on consumer satisfaction, and for this it is imperative to identify the key services, prescribe minimum service levels and standards with respect to these services, and recognize them as consumer rights. So this draft tries to have a certain standard and minimum service levels which will be regarded as the rights of consumers. The draft pertains to timely and simplified procedure for connection. A person would require only 2 documents for connection up to load of 10 kilowatt and no estimation of demand charges for load up to 150 kilowatt to expedite giving connection. Also, the draft fixes the time period for providing connection. So in order to provide a connection, there is a time period. The time period will not exceed 7 days in metro days 15 days in other municipal areas, and 30 days in rural areas to provide new connections and modify existing connections. Another feature of the draft rules is a 24/7 toll-free call center, web-based and mobile applications for common services like new connection, disconnection, reconnection, shifting of connection, change in name and particulars, load change, replacement of meter, no supply, etc. So these type of services will be availed with facilities like SMS or email alerts, online status tracking, and auto escalation. Now, we are covering the important government schemes or government initiatives. The first is the World Bamboo Day 2020. September 18 is the World Bamboo Day. APSC may check it. So students, please make a note of it. So Department of Industries and Commerce have created various initiatives to promote bamboo sector in last 1 year. So here certain important initiatives are mentioned. Students should go through this and you should remember them, because in prelims exam MCQs may be formed from here. Highlights under the Assam Bamboo and Cane Policy 2019. So these are the important points regarding this. Students, please make a note of it and try to remember, so that if any question comes in exam hall, we can answer them correctly. Now the next is the Atal Amrit Abhijan. So under this, what other diseases are covered? Students should have a clear idea about it. Now another government initiative, Abhinandan. So the salient features of the scheme, you should be knowing the salient features of this scheme. The scheme will cover all students who have availed education loan from any scheduled commercial or cooperative banks in Assam. So these are the some of the important features. Now this point is important, that the government of Assam will directly transfer the subsidy to the banks. Now coming to the important editorials discussion. The first important editorial is the historic deal. So this editorial we are studying under the General Studies 2 paper, International Relations. So leaving the Palestinians in a doubtful position, and at the direction or at the guidance of the US administration, two Gulf states, the UAE or the United Arab Emirates and the Bahrain, the UAE and the Bahrain have signed agreements to fully normalize their relations with Israel, which is another blow at the pan-Arab unity or among the Arab nations. Most of the countries, including Saudi Arabia, have been quick to recognize that their economies are lopsided, since these economies are heavily dependent on the fast depleting crude oil reserves, and these nations need to diversify their revenue sources. So as they are dependent on crude oil reserves and which are fast depleting, they need to diversify their revenue sources. So how a relationship with Israel will benefit them? A close relationship with Israel would not only increase trade but also enable the kind of transfer of technology that would help the countries to steer their economies in newer directions. However, this point is important, that before this agreement, the only other Arab countries in the Middle East to recognize Israel were Egypt and Jordan, who signed these peace treaties in 1978 and 1994, primarily because of security considerations, because they had common and vulnerable borders with Israel. So this is a historic development, for most Arab states have been boycotting Israel since the founding of Israel in 1948 and insisting they would only establish ties with Israel's dispute after Israel's dispute with Palestine was settled. It may also be noted that US President Donald Trump had been embarking on a series of steps empowering Israel while being inimical to Palestine, including the so-called Middle East Peace Plan he had unveiled in January, which had allocated to the Jewish state a substantial portion of the Arab land already occupied by her. So next, coming to the important editorial, the paper mill discussion of Assam. So this we are discussing under the General Studies on Assam paper, topic economic development. The two paper mills, Nagaon paper mill in Jagirod and Kasar paper mill in Panchagram, have been non-functional since March 2017 and October 2015 respectively. The two paper mills that had around 1,200 employees and generated indirect employment for more than 2 lakh people now remain closed. Once the paper mills were a bright spot in the industrial map of state, it provided employment to locals besides generating revenue for the government. However, for years, the paper mills were functioning well, but slowly mismanagement, rampant corruption by section of employees, and government apathy slowed down the wheels of the mills, and finally they came to a grinding halt. The state government, however, again initiated efforts for the revival of the paper mills. It plans to take up the revival issue with the center and make an effort to avoid liquidation of the paper mills. The state government has written a letter to the liquidator of the National Company Law Tribunal (NCLT) in this regard. Further, the state government in the letter has pointed out the problems being faced by the employees and the way the local economy has taken a serious beating due to the closure of the mills. And also, the government should encourage private players to invest, because without government support, private players are unlikely to invest in the paper mills. The government must accord top priority to evolve a viable revival package and make the paper mills functional at the earliest. So with this, students, we come to an end to today's Assam Tribune analysis. I hope this discussion was very helpful. Thank you for watching the video. Thank you.